So what is the international law about hanging out with exes as friends now, especially if you're in a new relationship?
So this was a very interesting debate to me. Well, it started off as a debate, and then it ended up being a full-blown argument. I was at a couple's house. It was one of those couples nights out kind of thing. A lot of couples hanging around together, playing couples games, telling stories, and that's always dangerous.
These couples games, man, they were launched by the devil.
They were. It's very dangerous, and I have learned quickly to try to be the couple that does not share a lot of information. It doesn't give too much personal information, because then you become the couple that is arguing in front of all of the other couples.
Yes.
And this is exactly what happened with this one particular couple. So I've never heard of a situation like this. It was interesting because they've been together now for a while. They have a good relationship. They seem to be happy. The only issue is that they brought up is one big issue in the house, which is the girlfriend does not want the boyfriend to ever hang out with any women that he has played the piano with or had any kind of relationship with in the past.
Okay, if you're a new listener, I think you can kind of guess. If we got younger listeners right now, we say playing the piano really means something else. Now you get it.
Right. And which is standard. I would think that that's how most women would feel. But then he got upset because he's like, you always tell that part of the story, but you never tell your side of the story, and how it's okay for you, but it's not okay for me. And she's like, it's not the same because it's not the same sex. So what the situation is she has a friend who is her best friend, in quotes, who has been with her throughout their entire, basically their whole lives. They've been best friends.
It's her girlfriend, ride or die.
Exactly. Helped her through her divorce, helped her with her kids. She made that point to say, this person has been with me by my side through everything. However, there was a phase of time where for I don't know how long, she said it wasn't that long, it wasn't really a big deal, but I guess they were both in a phase of their life where they were going through bad divorces and they were kind of there for each other.
They swore off men.
There you go. And they were roommates for about a year, and within that year of time that they were roommates, a couple of times, a little bit of piano playing happened.
Okay.
Right?
Gotcha.
But they didn't, and the way she tells the story is they never became like a thing. It wasn't that. It wasn't like that. It just was something that happened. And then since then, they've always gone back to just being strictly friends. Right? So now, a couple years go by, and she meets this guy, and she's basically forced him to stop hanging out. Like, he has female friends who he would like to still communicate with, but she won't allow him to do that. She's not comfortable with him doing that because of the past that they have. So his thing is, well, why is it any different in your situation? And she swears that it's different, for one, because they were never an item, and for two, because they are the same sex. He doesn't feel like it should be any different. If that's the standard that I have to live by for you, then you should have to live by that same standard for me. And that became like an hour argument back and forth where they were all asking us, like, whose side you on? And the whole house was pretty much split.
I don't think that she has a leg to stand on in this whole thing.
Well, wait, you said because of the history they have, she doesn't want him hanging out with the past females. Did he cheat?
No, it's no
It's
cheating
never like
involved. Nothing to do with cheating, nothing to do with insecurities on anybody's part. It's just that he simply feels as if it's just not fair.
So
Well,
he
maybe
had
for her-
former ex-girlfriends just turned into friends, and they're
Right.
still around.
Right.
And she's saying, well, you used to date these girls. I don't want them around at all.
Exactly. 'Cause
Okay.
they still hang out. They still go out together. And for him, it's like, I think a part of him is okay with it. Like, he doesn't necessarily care that she hangs out with the friend. He just feels as if, like, why when the tables are turned, this ain't cool for me.
It's now the principle of the matter.
Exactly.
And I think maybe going through her divorce, she's a little wounded. Therefore, to protect the new relationship, she doesn't want him hanging out with any exes. But I'm with Bert, like, if it's going to be equal.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm like, it feels different.
Why?
I don't know. It's like Oprah and Gail. Stedman ain't getting all bent out of shape.
Well, if Gail and Oprah hooked up and they were roommates for a year,
Maybe they
and
did.
every now and then they hooked up, would Stedman feel differently about it? Maybe
Stedman
so.
ain't going to say nothing because it's Oprah money we're talking
Right.
about.
Now, I wouldn't tell her not to hang out with her friend, but I think she needs to back down and let him and trust him hang out with who he wants to hang out with.
That's what I said. And that's why I was curious as to what y'all would say. Because because it seemed like in the house it was mostly split between the men and the woman. Like most of the men was like, nah, if you get to do it, then he has to get to do it. That's only fair. But then a lot of the women felt like, nah, because as a woman, men don't really get it. The situation with her is different because she can be trusted, whereas the woman that's hanging out with my boyfriend, I can't trust the woman. It seemed to be like a more of a sex thing. It was split like right down the middle.
But if he's saying there's women in my past that I still want to hang out with, why? If they're your exes and you guys were doing the deed and you were dating, whereas she's talking about a friend that she had like way before,
Still
right?
hooked
Like
up?
years, like childhood, and then families are friends, and then they hooked up a couple times and they never dated.
His point was he has a female friend in his life that he can say has been his friend throughout like the majority of his life. They just didn't stay together for other reasons, but they don't hate each other. But she wouldn't allow them to even be on the phone together, let alone actually go out and hang out together. So his point was, what's the difference?
Here's
Okay,
Heather. Hey,
I'm
Heather.
not on her side anymore.
Excited to hear all the facts. Hey, Heather, good morning.
Good morning. I love you guys.
Thank you.
Love you too.
I think that the standard should be for both of them. If she's still allowed to have this good friend in her life that has been there for her through thick and thin, he should be able to have friends that are females that have been there for him.
It's got to be consistent. It's got to be consistent.
That's what I said.
What's good for one has got to be good for the other.
Whatever decision is made, it should work both ways. That simple.
The Bert Show.